Welcome to the Rise of China show, where you can discover how to benefit from the rise of China and learn Chinese efficiently at brainstormlanguages.com. In the previous episode with China blogger Becky Ansis, we talked about the challenges of studying Chinese, particularly while holding down a teaching English job, along with the Chinese cities of Hangzhou and Xiamen for living. Today we are going to draw from her 6 years' experience living in China to get her viewpoint on Chinese culture and the way of thinking and life. Topics we will cover are Chinese culture, family versus independence, Western misunderstandings about China, the competition between America and China, stereotypes Chinese have of Westerners, the Chinese inner circle and generosity, getting called in on your guanxi, and adapting to China. I only stay another 6 months mindset and getting sucked into China, and the need for expat friends. What's your view on the differences between Chinese and Western culture?
I think the biggest difference is independence versus collective, individual versus collective. I feel like maybe that's kind of the one thing I will never totally understand about China is their family over the individual, Just because I'm, American and we value independence so much.
Absolutely,
and, like if your kid lives with you after college is very embarrassing, not only for the kid, but for the parents. Because it's like the parents didn't raise an independent kid, their adult child is still relying on them. And that's like embarrassing in America.
Yeah.
Whereas like in China, you're expected to live with your family. And if you live by yourself, it's a bit of a betrayal, like you should live with your parents. So because I feel like that's the biggest difference.
My girlfriend suggested what I should do to save paying, an apartment myself and paying rent. Yeah. She said I could move in with her and her parents, and I thought, I said that would drive me crazy, and I think she was like a bit surprised, and I was like, I value my independence.
Yeah, and freedom, and yeah. I feel like that's kind of the biggest thing. And I think it's something that's like at our core, whatever country we're from. And so it's so hard to really totally understand the other side. Like when my students come to me with problems, just do blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, but my family.
Yeah.
And I'm like, forget your family, but, like, they can't,
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest difference.
What about saving face?
The kind of like, like you were saying before, like it's better to say nothing than be wrong,
Right, yeah.
Of course, saving face drives me nuts, especially when they say, sure.
Yeah.
And you're expecting something, never comes. And you're like,
exactly, yeah.
They were just saving face, weren't they?
Yeah. Because you said in your blog, there's too much misunderstanding between the West and China. So could you talk about these misunderstandings?
Yeah, I think like simple things like, everybody in America, one of the first questions is, do they really eat dog? Like I've gotten that question maybe like 100 times at this point.
100 times, they're boring.
And not only like eat dog, but like my friends will like attack me, like, they're cruel to animals. How can you live in a culture that's cruel to animals? But like, in China, like everyone has their little toy dog, and like everyone dresses up their little dogs, and and yes, like some places still eat dog, and you can buy it. It's not like people are just running around catching dogs and cooking them,
Yeah.
Like.
I mean, it's not very common at all, really, is it?
No.
Guangdong province, that they eat quite all types of things. I mean, they've got a reputation for that.
Well, and there's that dog festival. I forget. It's in a small city. I forget where. But this year, the dog festival was like shut down by activists.
Oh, really?
The human rights violations and the invasion of privacy and all that. Like Americans, it clouds kind of everything. And people will often like criticize me, like, how can you support that government? And I'm like, well, like, look at what's going on in America, like, like the country is not the government, our America's government is crazy right now, but there's still good people and everyday life is not necessarily affected by it, because I really do love China, and for whatever reason, and I really like respect China, and a lot of things about it. A lot of things bother me, but and even things like the one-child policy. People will be like, well, it's horrible, and human rights.
But I heard if they didn't have the one-child policy, then there'd be a lot of people would be starving to death.
Yeah, and like I put a picture on my blog recently of like a bus, and like how crowded the bus was at a non-peak time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And and it was like, don't talk to me about the one-child policy until you live here.
Yeah.
Till you try to get on a bus at 10 p.m. and it's too full.
Yeah.
Like that's why with my blog, because of course I don't totally understand China, but I understand it more than people outside China.
For sure, yeah.
So I try to kind of show that like Chinese people are people too, like they do the same things we do, like it's not so different as everybody thinks. I don't know. I just wish, honestly, they're not like our countries are different and our cultures are different and our mindsets are different. But at the same time, there's more similar things than differences. There's more things to understand about each other than to hate about the differences.
I think fundamentally, all humans at the end of whatever race, we all have the same needs, desires, goals, aims. It's pretty much the same, but maybe the way we go about it might be different, and that's a layer of culture.
And I think it's especially important, like for America and China, because we're like competing, to be number one in the world. And
what do you mean America's competing? America's clearly going to be number two. What is it going to compete
but it's
about?
killing them. It's killing them. And so, there's like a lot of like below the surface anger at these two cultures, and a lot of like, they eat dogs, so they're evil.
Okay, just brandishing them with the stereotypes that are not linked in with reality. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what, I don't know. I hope to play my small part in understanding between the two cultures because, as travelers, like we are caught in the middle of these cultures.
But we kind of represent our country from the point of view, particularly when Chinese have never come across. There's many Chinese that have never come across face to face and had a conversation with foreigners. They've just seen the movies. Right. And they think Westerners are just like the actors in the movies, how they act. How can I say, openly sexual nature or whatever.
Gotten that before, yep.
Becky, what kind of stereotypes do you get from Chinese people about Americans?
American girls, that they're very open.
Yeah.
That's kind of the big one.
Unreliable?
No, I've never gotten that. You get that?
As a Western male, I think Chinese parents and girls think, Western men may be unreliable, come and go,
Yeah, that's a guy thing, for sure.
Yeah.
Also, like, Westerners don't love their families as much.
Oh, yeah.
Because we move away.
Interdependent, yeah. Parents getting old and not taking care of them, yeah.
Right. I get, actually, the foreigners, like the non-American foreigners, sometimes they'll be like, you're not as annoying as I thought Americans would be.
So what do you think the best thing about China, its culture, and the people are?
The food in China is just so good. I don't like spicy food, so I have trouble with a couple of the provinces, but I just love like standard dishes and stuff. So good. And I love how cheap it is, and I love how fresh everything is, and like the animal that you're eating was probably alive the day before. I kind of like that.
I went jogging a few days ago, and I live in a modern block of flats, and it was about 6 a.m, and I heard a hen like cock-a-doodle-doo, and it was coming from one of the apartments, and so like somebody was keeping a hen in the apartment. Like, I would drive me mad. They're going
to eat it someday.
Yeah, if I was his neighbor, I'd drive me crazy. Who wants to be woken up at like 5 and 6 in the morning before the sunlight rises, and then cock-a-doodle-doo, That's China for you.
Strangers in China will cut you down, but if you are in their inner circle, like they will do anything for you, like they will help you in any way.
That's really strange because like I find that the Chinese towards strangers seem quite
So
impolite. Yeah.
So cold. Yeah.
So cold. But when you know that you're part of their friends, like I've had some Chinese, really generous Chinese at university, like I've had like Chinese friends say, look, I'm going to teach you Chinese every day, and for free.
Last semester I hurt my leg. I tore my calf muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of the students, and I didn't even know them, like I was the new teacher and I didn't ask or anything. And some students, like after class, they went out to the store and they got me some medicine and they came to my next class and they were like, here, Becky. And like, I know I was the teacher and whatever, but like, it was like so touching, They went, like these people that I barely knew, like went out of their way to help me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, and I really like that in China, how if you're in, you are in. There's nothing they won't do to help you. So I really like that.
Do you feel part of the reason you enjoy being in China is that because, as a Westerner, kind of unusual and considered kind of special?
I hate to say yeah, but yeah. I know.
Yeah, if you denied it, I'd say you're a liar.
I know. I do feel guilty about it, getting special treatment. Like my job alone, I make, I don't make a high salary, but for China, I make more than a new teacher in China, and I get a free apartment, and I get, an airfare ticket, and I get all these benefits just because I'm a foreigner. I had dinner with the mayor of this like Wenzhou town, like because having foreigners at his dinner made him look good.
Yeah.
And I don't feel good about it, and it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
But I will do it. Like, I'm not going to turn down a dinner just because I'm a foreigner, even though that's the only reason I was invited.
The way I see it is that, in life, sometimes, you have like how true or why true, like you have benefits and disadvantages in all situations, or some situations you might be discriminated against, some situations you might be given praise or advantages. So I just see it as just like rolling with the whole thing, I don't like see it from a guilt point of view. I just to see it like, because there's some situation in life I feel like totally discriminated against or is totally unfair. Yeah. And I just feel like life's like a roller coaster that way.
I feel a little guilty, but not enough to stop me.
Because the whole thing about Guanxi, making relationships in China with and people who have positions of power or influence. Do you feel that, for example, you having dinner with the mayor, you could get some sort of other benefit from that, or if you had a problem down the line, he would help out or sort it out for you?
That situation, no. Like, I didn't even talk to the guy. But, like, in China, I try to live a pretty simple life. For instance, at my last school, I really worked so hard and I became so close with the students. And it was in a small city. There's not many foreign teachers. Mm-hmm. I was there for 5 years. So like everybody knew me, and I was very reliable and dependable, and class, was always interesting and active. And throughout like the 5 years, I did get like a lot of Guanxi, but I never called on it,
mm-hmm.
But other people would like call me on it. I had this doctor, and like even my doctor like used me for my English. She was like, "Can you please read over my medical thesis?" And now that I've come to Xiamen, I'm trying really hard to just like be a totally average teacher. I don't want to like maybe it's very Chinese of me, but like I don't want to
stick out.
Stand out, and because I just don't want to be called on to do a lot of extra stuff as well.
There's a phrase in Chinese that a few friends told me about. It's like, in China, if you stick your head out above the rest, you'll get it chopped off.
Well, like in English, right? We say that the nail that sticks out gets hammered down.
Yeah, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down, yeah.
Yeah, so... But I've never been like hammered down,
I've never been hammered down, yeah.
It's more like hammered up. like more work, please do this for us.
Yeah.
Please, I hate when you're invited to dinner and you think it's just a dinner and then it turns out to be a business proposition and somebody's opening a English school and they want you to be partners with them and you can make so much maybe I'm very unambitious, but like, I don't want to make a lot of money. Like, I don't want to work a lot. Like, I'm a writer, like, I'm a traveler. I just need enough money to have free time to do writing and free time to travel. And so, like, that's all I want. That's all I want.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're clear with what you want and live life to those values, then that's happiness. That's a definition of happiness, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like in China, kind of because the privilege of the foreigner, and you can make a decent salary without working too much, then I feel like it's a great
compromise.
Yeah, it's a great position to be in.
So, what book are you writing?
I just wrote a memoir about the last 3 years in China.
Wow.
So, I'm still second draft, still working on it.
Yeah. So when do you think that's going to come out?
I don't know. I'm going to try to get it published in America. I got to do at least 3 or 4 drafts and then get an agent or something.
Do you feel that you've like adapted well to Chinese life, and how long do you think it usually takes Westerners to adapt properly?
Oh, I feel like I've adapted really well. I think my experience was maybe a little different because I came originally for 6 months. So I kind of had an all-in attitude. It's only 6 months, like I can endure anything, and this is an opportunity, I can't waste it. So like the school that I went to was in the middle of nowhere, and I wanted that. Like, I didn't want foreign friends, I wanted to meet Chinese people, and I wanted Chinese food and Chinese things. So the first 6 months, yeah, of course, there was crazy culture shock and getting used to things, but I thought it was temporary. And when something's temporary, it doesn't really like affect you so much, like you accept it because it's just for a short time. And then I did this thing where I was like, one more year. So I never felt like permanent. I thought like, well, one more year. And then, so I better take advantage of this 1 year.
Right.
And then next year, well, I better take it. Well, I got 1 year.
Getting sucked in, like you said, yeah.
Yeah, like slowly getting in the water, So by the time I was like, yeah, I'm staying here for sure, then like I was already totally used to the culture. I do think there's some things like finding some comforts of home, like now that it's permanent. Like I do like expat friends. Like nobody can really understand you like expat friends. Yeah,
for sure.
Because they're in the same situation as you. So like in the beginning, I definitely stayed away from foreigners. But as time went on, I started looking for that, like-minded foreigners to kind of share this experience with. And
permanent-based foreigners.
Yeah. Or even foreigners, everybody leaves all the time. So grab somebody while you can and be friends with them, and soon they're gone. But,
okay, you don't find that depressing then? Because I know that some foreigners find that long-termers here in China, they can find a bit disheartened with that kind of scenario.
I mean, it's sad that people go all the time, but I wrote about this on my blog, like I feel very zen about it. Like just enjoy the moment and just like be open and be friends. And if they go, they go.
Sure.
But you'll find other people, and I go, I'm the one that left before. So, I feel like if maybe I had moved here with the idea that I would be here for 6 years, it would have been a really different experience and maybe more shocking.
Yes.
But that I kind of did it with this like mindset of like, oh, just 6 months, just 6 months. Yeah. It was easier for me to get used to.
Because you also had given yourself permission to whatever uncomfortable thing that you're facing, that, oh, this is not permanent. So I can cope with it now. Yeah.
This is just something crazy and fun. So just go with it. Is that?
So if you could rate your experience of coming to China, 1 is a disaster, up to 10, amazing, where would you rate it and why?
I'm going for a 10.
It's like the past 3 people that I've interviewed, like one person says like 9, and a person says 10, and one person says 11.
I want 12.
You want 12, you're going to go for the 12, okay.
That's one of the great things too, that like if I didn't like it, I don't have to be here. Like at any point I can always go home. I love my job. I love my lifestyle. Like I really do like living in China. I love Chinese people and Chinese culture. Even the stupid language, which is so hard for me. I love speaking Chinese. I love writing Chinese. I love just being able to do this. Not something I ever expected in my life, ever. based on my past language learning. Like,
Sure. You just feel that you have an exciting life.
yeah, I totally like I've never been happier in my life before. And it's kind of weird. I think like in America, it might sound weird, but I felt like I never belonged properly, you know? Like I hated the town I grew up in. I couldn't wait to get out. And then I got out and then like I just wanted to keep moving and keep traveling. And it's like in China, I don't belong. As my dad is not happy I'm in China. He keeps wanting me to
Come back, yeah.
saying you'll never be one of them. You'll never belong. And like, of course, I know that. Like,
But you're happy.
yeah, and like in a way, like I don't have the pressure. Of belonging. Like in America, like I'm American, I should belong, I should fit in. But I feel like I don't belong. But here, I don't belong, so there's no pressure. Like,
Yeah, I understand
I don't
that.
have to belong.
Yeah.
And somehow, because of that, I feel like I belong more than in America.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised that the past 3 interviews that everyone like gives such high marks about, you know, the experience in China, because the hardships. I mean, I know you're saying that you feel that many aspects of your life in China are amazing, but I think the common theme that a lot of foreigners feel is that there are these hardships. So I never expected people to say 9 and 10. I was thinking maybe people would say a 7 and 8. It didn't occur to me that people would be saying 10s and 11s and 12s.
Infinity. No. Yeah, no, I mean, I do feel like that because I have the freedom, like if I don't like it, I can go. Or if I don't like it, I can change. You know, if I don't like where I'm living, it's not hard for me to get another job. So teaching English. So like if I don't like where I'm living, I can just move. You know, there's there's such a freedom that maybe I don't feel in other places because you're tied down with like car insurance and health insurance and your job, and moving is so expensive. But here, like, it's not, you know? So, you know, if I don't like something, I can change it.
Yeah, that really is the traveler mentality. And I know that I feel that myself, that when I feel that whether I feel bored in a place or things are, I would say my life doesn't feel that exciting, or where there's some issues that I don't like, then I always feel that, well, I can go to another place, another country. And I had friends that say to me, you know, Stefan, you know, when are you going to like come back to reality? Why? Yeah. They said, like, they say to me, you know, when are you going to stop running away from your problems? And and I like,
me too. I hate that.
And I'm like, you know, my answer to them is like, maybe I am kind of in a way running away from my problems, but you know what? It feels really good. And the new experience I have, you know, I mean, you can't put a price on them, really.
Yeah, and who says like having a miserable job is the real world? Like, why can't you? You know, why can't you see the world? And I feel, you know, like my life is more real now than it ever was in America. You know, because I worked the 2 jobs and I was exhausted, and I had the car and the house and everything.
But you weren't happy.
But I wasn't happy at all.
Satisfied.
You know, I hate that. When are you going to get a real job? I hate that. Love my job, damn it. I'm good at my job.
Do you know, Becky, what I'm worried about? Because I'm planning to live in Ireland for at least a year. I'm worried that I'm just going to be bored.
I know.
It's too normal. I'm going to be in like an existence that I've been so accustomed to for the majority of my life, you know?
Have you seen, there's what's it called? Laowai Comics. It's like a website where a guy, you know, a foreigner living in China, writes about things. And one of them is like, the guy's in China and he's like, damn it, why is everybody looking at me? Like, stop looking at me.
Yeah, stop looking at me.
And then he's back home and he's like, wait.
Why anybody looking at me? Yeah. Someone noticed me. I want to feel special in some way.
No, it's I you know, even going back to visit can be so hard psychologically. Not because people are not paying attention to you, but like because nobody actually cares about
your experience.
They go, oh, how's China? Great. Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah. Back
so
to my
washing machine broke, and I had to buy a new one. You know, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah. That's the traveler's travelers.
Yeah, I do find that weird that like people are not more inquisitive, because like you feel like you've gone away and had like a whole new set of experiences and perspectives, and you think that people would be interested, you want to share that with them, and you think people would like to engage in conversation about these things that they haven't experienced themselves. Because I think that's why I enjoy traveling and living in different countries, is because, and I think why I like watching documentaries is having experience of other people's lives that it's not firsthand my experience. I mean, I even mean that by traveling, because I can see how other people are living, but it's not me firsthand living their life, but I do get to see new perspectives, and it just fascinates me to see that.
But, I think that's like the traveler's mindset, I think maybe not everybody feels that way.
Yeah.
And, even like I am pretty careful, like to not be like, when I go back home, when I'm like, in China, blah, 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 in China, blah,
you
blah, blah.
arrogant so-and-so.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just had a friend, she just went back to England, and they went to a Chinese restaurant, and she used chopsticks. Mm-hmm. And one of her family members was like, oh, look who's so fancy and international. Because she used chopsticks and not a fork. So,
when I went to India, I was in India for 5 months. And, in India, you eat with your hands. So you put your hands in the curry and the rice, and you use your hands as a spoon, yeah? Oh, no. I mean, really, yeah? And so I got used to that. And so when I went back to Scotland, and then I went to an Indian restaurant with my dad, I'm eating with my hand, put it into my mouth, and my dad's like staring at me like he can't believe it. It's like, what on earth? This is my son. So could you tell us about your blog, BeckyAnswers.net?
Yeah, I started it just because I wanted to just record my experiences originally. And now, I hope it maybe promotes some understanding of China to people that are not in China. And yeah, I've been blogging for 6 years.
6 years now, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I started right before I left. I started like 3 months before. It's been great, like especially, because I date Chinese guys, and there's a niche of foreign women that date Chinese guys. So we kind of have this like blog network, which is really nice. And I've met like a ton of people because of my blog. Either they contact me and, I meet them, or they're other bloggers. It's actually been a really, like, if anybody listening is thinking of starting a blog, there's no downside, because it's just really, really has a lot of advantages of like meeting people and
meeting people with the same kind of mindset, no?
Yeah, or meeting people that maybe don't have the same kind of mindset but are interested.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like a lot, because, it's in English, of course, and so a lot of people that read it will never come to China, but they're interested. Just in a pure selfish manner, it's a great way to like share your experience with people, and like a lot of my friends will read it. Mm-hmm. So that's that's nice.
Do you know what I was thinking is like an advantage of doing a blog would be is like certain friends like ask me questions like, oh, how's China, and I could just go, I wouldn't have to write to them, I just go refer to this page.
I'm not answering you. Here's
I don't have time to reiterate. Yeah, you like reading books. So could you recommend a book about traveling, and also one that would be good to read to understand Chinese culture?
Yeah, I think I'm a travel purist. I think my travel book is Vagabonding. Mm-hmm. You know that one by Rolf Potts?
Is that a website?
It's also a website.
Yeah. It's
originally a book that's like everything about traveling long term, like how to prepare, like what to bring. Like it's the book like you read when you're still like a teenager and you can't travel by yourself yet, and you just like dream of the future when you can travel. That's like the ultimate book, because it's like it's nuts and bolts. Like it's not just romantic traveling. It's like this is how you do it. This is what you do. And they actually have a great chapter on going back, like when you finish your trip.
Oh yeah, decompressing.
Yeah, because it is like really hard for travelers to go back.
Yeah.
So it even has a great chapter about that. Books about China, of course, Peter Hessler's books, like Rivertown, Oracle Bones, Country Driving. Of course, like, right, those are the books about China from a foreign point of view. But a Chinese writer, I don't know if you've read him, Lin Yutang.
Lin Yutang. Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's dead now. He wrote, I think, in like the 20s, 1920s. I think around that time. He was really awesome because he is Chinese, but he went abroad to study. So he has he knows like the foreigner point of view, and he wrote a lot of his books in English. And I really like it because he explains things about China in a way that's easy for foreigners to understand.
Right.
So and he has a fiction book that I really like called Moments in Peking. And I kind of see it as like the Chinese Gone with the Wind. Like the main character is like a woman, and it's like, you know, when China's changing and her struggles, and she's rich and she's poor and she's married and she's single, and, you know, like it's an epic kind of book. And I really like that. And he has some other books, like personal essays, like one's called My Country, My People, I think. And that one's like really good at explaining kind of the Chinese, and even though it's older, it still like really fits to like Chinese culture and Chinese society and the Chinese way of thinking. And he writes it knowing that foreigners will read it. So he writes it explaining things as he goes. So his books I like a lot.
If you want to read Becky's blog or contact her, go to beckyances.net. That's BECKYANCES.net. The book she mentions will be in the show notes in the podcast section of our website. Thanks for listening to The Rise of China and How It Can Benefit You podcast at www.brainstormlanguages.com.